It is Friday and another opportunity for us to be asking some questions about what is going to happen on Sunday. I'm sure by now you've heard and perhaps even have read the governor gave an order restricting in-person gatherings inside of buildings along with in-person gatherings outdoors as well. And so there are questions, I'm sure, about what that does for what we do and being back in the building, all of those types of things. And I want to address those here in a few minutes, and I'll give you the short version in case you don't want to listen to the longer version. But the short version is that on Sunday, we will be normal in regarding our times. 9:15 to 10:15 will be Sunday school. 10:30 to 11:45 will be the worship service. Those two things will happen in our building, and we will be normal in that sense. Your elder team is still encouraging you to wear masks, and I'll explain a little bit of that here in a few moments. So if that's all you need and that's all you have time for, that's the short answer to perhaps the question about what's going on in 2 days. The longer answer is that in some ways that each turn when a new order is given or new guidance comes out, it's caused us to ask different questions, or at least myself. And that happened Wednesday, and I began just asking different questions than I had found myself asking before. And that landed me in the office of our state representative yesterday, who had a staff member tell me that churches are exempt from all of these executive orders, and that our religious liberty, you might say, is foundationally built into the Pennsylvania Constitution. And I read a little closer the orders that Governor Wolf has signed, and the order he signed on May 27th specifically excludes churches or houses of worship as would be termed. And then the face mask order on July 1st actually said that's in concert with the May 27th order. It doesn't supersede it. And then you have the order on July 15th, a few days ago, where that one specifically does say this supersedes all previous orders. But then in the Q&A time, when asked, does this apply to churches, both Dr. Levine and Governor Wolf said no. We're at a point, and by we're, I mean your elder team. We met again last night, and Justin and I spent a few hours on the phone on Wednesday talking about this and other things. As we met last night, we're at a point where we do believe that churches are excluded. We have seen that confirmed in a couple different places. And so what that has done is it's caused us to acknowledge that we really have three different roads we could walk down. And the first road is to not follow any of the restrictions, not follow any of the guidance, not take any cues from any of those governing authorities. You might say that this road is the road that would yell freedom, and that's one particular option. The second option would be to just take all restrictions, take all guidance, take all cues from the governing authorities there in Harrisburg. That road would be another option. The third road, and the one your elder team believes and is in agreement that we should walk down, is the road of choosing to follow guidance or take our cues from those we may not be obligated to obey. So if churches are excluded, we don't have a legal obligation to lock in step and follow the way businesses around town do, and the way perhaps even we do as citizens. It's a bit of an interesting dynamic, quite frankly. But we can make the choice to put in place guidance, to put in place our own restrictions, to take cues from those governing authorities, believing that they are a little bit more invested in the science than the rest of us are. That's the road we're wanting to walk down. What that means then is that your elder team is taking ownership of the details for Waynesboro Grace. And what that means is that there probably exists more opportunities for us to disagree and for us to have to love one another, for us to work out this body thing when we may not always agree with one another. And as it just relates to chairs in the sanctuary and disinfectants or hand sanitizers in the classrooms or drinking fountains that have been put inoperable for the time being, there's not a lot there I think we would hotly disagree on. As it comes to masks, that's probably a moment where we would have greater disagreement. And as I said in the beginning, your elder team is encouraging you to wear masks. Now, in saying that, I need to acknowledge that I've done a poor job leading by example in that. We told you 2 weeks ago we were encouraging you to wear masks, and for 2 Sundays I didn't. And I saw some of you see me without a mask and take yours off. I saw others of you wonder if you were supposed to wear them. I saw some of you celebrate that you didn't have to. We were kind of all over the place, as is to be expected. And I need to own that. If I'm going to sit before you, or at least on camera before you, and encourage you on behalf of your elder team to do something, I need to be willing to lead by example. And so while my family and I will be out of town this Sunday and the next, we will be practicing that. We will be encouraged or following the encouragement of our elder team as we return. And we're asking you to do the same thing. Now, I know the science in some regard is all over the place. There are people that I know in the medical community that I trust who have strong opinions that you should not wear them. There are people in the medical community that I know and trust that have strong opinions that you should wear them. You're going to be able to find any article on the internet to support whatever side of the argument you fall on. I get it. I really do. And you're more than welcome to send those articles to me if you want. I'm not sure I need them because I get it. And we're at a point where even last night in our conversation, the room was not in unity that this is absolutely, unquestionably the direction we have to take. And it was actually an opportunity for us, even as an elder team, to practice this idea of, okay, can we disagree with one another in love and do so with humility, do so with kindness, do so in ways that honor one another? And I was encouraged in how our conversation took place, because I think we might be able to lead by example when it comes to the broader congregation we've been given responsibility for. A couple days ago on Monday, I was down in Hagerstown, and I was with some pastors at some of our sister churches, and we were obviously discussing this, as it seems to be the conversation everywhere. And their stories are a little different than our stories. They have people in their church that have contracted the virus. They have a gentleman in our church who is actually the distant relative of somebody in our church who's right now fighting for his life in Meredith. They're practicing certain COVID restrictions a lot more strongly than we have chosen to at this point. but they're doing so because they want to do all that they can. We have a sister church about an hour from here in Pennsylvania that is doing temperature checks at the door before you can come in the building. They are requiring, not even encouraging, requiring masks to be worn when you're in the building. We may disagree with the specifics there. I think the idea is that they believe they're doing all they can. There are churches within our state who are choosing to not do this at all, or leaving it up to the discretion of the individual. The lines are really fuzzy, and the guidance or the examples or the best practices, even from those we may consider to be like-minded, are not clear. And so as we navigate this, I want to just acknowledge that and do so on behalf and representing your elder team, that we don't believe for a moment that we have all the answers or have all of this figured out. But at the end of the day, if we're going to err somewhere, we want to err on the side of caution. Now, even saying that, some of you are going to immediately think of an article that you read that talks about how masks don't do a thing and they don't stop a single thing. Others of you might say, well, I read an article that says to the contrary. I get it. I do. If we're going to err, we're going to err on the side of caution. I believe it was on Tuesday, as we were getting ready to learn what the school system was going to be doing for Waynesboro, I found myself reflecting on my own personal thoughts about masks and whether or not I would be willing to put one on if that's what was required for us to go back into the building on Wednesdays next year. Now, there's a lot that's unknown about that. And the school system has said they will be restricting visitors, and I get that. I don't know if we will find ourselves needing to creatively come up with different opportunities to be involved in our school. But let's just say that we were welcome, but a mask was required. I found myself asking the question, for the sake of ministry, am I willing to set aside my own personal preferences? And the answer to that question is yes. And that's in some ways where we're at as a church. And what I'm asking you to consider on behalf of your elder team, for the sake of ministry, for the sake of loving one another, we're encouraging you to do this. And we understand that the lines are not clear. We're not at all trying to pretend that they are. I'm willing to own that the last 2 weeks I did a poor job leading by example. And that will be different when we return. But we have an opportunity to love one another. We have an opportunity to think of those who might be vulnerable, think of those who may be older, and prioritize them for the sake of ministry. And so we're asking you to do so. It's a strange time. It's a really strange time. And quite frankly, all of the questions have not been answered. At some point, your elder team will have to navigate what it looks like, or when we are comfortable not encouraging masks. That's another conversation. We'll have to navigate what it looks like if we go back into the yellow, what it looks like if we go back into the red. We don't have answers to those questions right now. We don't have answers to the question of what it looks like if someone comes here and knows that, or later knows that they had COVID. What do we do there? What if they were asymptomatic? What if we are finding out after the fact that there was potential exposure? What do we do? Those are all questions we don't have good answers to. And so we're asking for patience. We're asking for your grace. We know some of you will not agree with the encouragement to wear masks. And we get it. But we're asking for the sake of ministry, for the sake of loving one another, that we walk this road together. And so on Sunday, we're going to be normal in terms of our times. We're going to be normal as far as the last 2 weeks go regarding the drinking fountains and the disinfectants and the chairs, and the fellowship hall is a separate location. And we're reaffirming our encouragement that we do the mask thing. And I will do my best to lead by example when I return. Now, taking some cues from the government, there has been some indicators that if you're teaching or if you're able to be 6 feet away, that there's some flexibility there. And so I don't intend to preach with a mask on, because I can be within a bubble, if you will. But our teachers may find themselves in similar positions. But other than that, I'll have one on. And some of you have been to the doctors recently. Perhaps some of your workplaces have implemented some questions that are helpful, perhaps, maybe not at all. Again, it's just not clear. But we're just trying to take cues and put in some best practice. So if you know you've been around somebody that has it, if you're not feeling well, if you are running a low-grade fever, just asking you to stay home for that Sunday or until you feel better. We're doing the best we can to get the videos up quickly. We know it's not the same. We get it. But that's what we're asking to do, and for your kiddos and your families. And we're going to have an opportunity continually to just be wondering, questioning, practicing what it looks like to love one another, what it looks like to be this body, what it looks like to live humbly, kindly together, where we have perhaps really strong opinions, but we're not willing to divide over them. We're not willing to make those critical issues. And that's where I want to end, because that's where our elder team ended last night, in just acknowledging and then specifically praying about how this is an opportunity for the enemy to sow division. This is an opportunity for Satan to work his way in our midst and capture on strongly held beliefs in either direction regarding whatever topic, and sow division. And so I just want to ask us to be on guard personally regarding that. No doubt you have reacted strongly in one way or the other to what I've said. That's okay. You're allowed to do so. But then what we do with that is what matters. And what we do with that is where the division potentially is sown. And so there's going to be hard work there, quite frankly. And I want to remind us of that. Your elder team last night specifically was praying for you and for us in that regard. And so let's be on guard. That command to be on guard and to watch and to stand firm is well made and appropriate in this moment, as it is in other moments through our lives as well.